The morning was quiet on the dusty edge of Orion's Colony 7. A thin mist of red sand hung in the air, coating every roof, every rusted tool, and every tired hope left in the old mining town. Inside a small workshop at the end of the street, a man named Eli Tanner wiped his hands on a torn cloth and sighed. His machines were falling apart, his rent was late, and his helper had quit 2 weeks ago. He had put up a sign on the door, "Mechanics assistant needed. Must be adult. Knows basic repair." He didn't expect much. No one came to this dying place unless they had nowhere else to go. Eli poured himself a cup of bitter coffee, glancing at the empty chairs. The tools were scattered across the floor, wires dangled like vines, and the air smelled of burned oil. He muttered, "Let's hope someone shows up today." The door creaked open with a small sound. Eli turned, expecting a grown worker or maybe another scavenger. Instead, a small shadow stood there, barely reaching his waist. It was a little girl, but not human. Her skin was soft gray, glowing faintly like the moon. Her silver eyes blinked nervously. She clutched a small glowing vial close to her chest, and her voice trembled when she spoke. "Sir, my mom's sick, so I came instead." Eli stared, confused. "Came instead? For what?" "For the job," she whispered. She saw the sign, but she can't get up anymore. "I can work. I fix things too." Eli blinked, thinking this was a joke. "Kid, this job isn't for children. And it's definitely not for—" He paused, choosing his words. "For someone so young." The girl didn't answer. She walked past him and looked around at the broken engines, cracked power cells, and shattered drone wings. Then she gently set down her glowing vial on the table and touched one of the dead machines. The power cell flickered once, twice, then a small hum filled the air as blue light ran through the wires. Eli's jaw dropped. "How did you—" She smiled a little shyly. "It was just asleep. Machines talk if you listen long enough." He felt goosebumps crawl across his arms. "What's your name, kid?" "Lyra," she said quietly. "My mom taught me to fix things. She used to work for the colony station. But she got sick. The medicine cost too much. I just need some money to help her breathe." Eli looked at her glowing hands, small and steady. Her clothes were worn out, her shoes torn, but her eyes, those eyes held something no ordinary child had. Pure focus. He scratched his beard. "You're not supposed to work. The inspectors will find me if they see you here." Lyra nodded, her voice almost a whisper. "Then I'll come after dark." "No one will see. Please, sir, I can help." Something in her tone broke the wall inside his chest. Eli had seen many workers lie, cheat, and steal. But this girl, she just wanted to keep her mother alive. He sighed and crossed his arms. "Fine, show me what you can do. But only small repairs, understood?" Lyra nodded quickly, her face lighting up with hope. She walked to the biggest mess in the room, a broken drone engine no one had managed to fix in months. She climbed on a stool, opened the panel, and started working with strange precision. Her tiny fingers moved like she had done this 100 times. Eli watched in silence. She hummed softly, a strange melody that sounded like wind through metal. Sparks jumped, lights flickered, and within minutes the engine gave a low rumble. Alive again. Eli stepped closer, amazed. "That's impossible." "The core was fused." Lyra wiped her hands on her sleeve and smiled faintly. "Not impossible, just scared." For a moment, the old mechanic didn't know what to say. The girl stood there looking so fragile yet fearless, surrounded by machines that obeyed her gentle touch. He finally spoke. "You've got the job, Lyra, but if anyone asks, my niece got it." Her silver eyes widened in joy. "Really? Thank you." Eli chuckled softly. "Don't thank me yet. It's dirty work and the pay's bad." Lyra shook her head. "It's enough. I just need to buy medicine for Mom." Outside, the red sun dipped low behind the dusty hills. The workshop glowed softly under the flickering lights, the broken machines humming like they were waking up for the first time in years. Eli leaned against the door and watched Lyra carefully packing her tools. He still didn't understand who she really was or what kind of power flowed through her hands. But one thing was certain, this was no ordinary child, and this was no ordinary job interview, because sometimes destiny doesn't knock like a grown-up. Sometimes it walks in quietly, holding a glowing vial and says, "Mom's sick, so I came instead." Days passed, and the little alien girl, Lyra, kept coming to the workshop. She always arrived just after sunrise, her small feet leaving light tracks in the red dust. She carried the same glowing vial in her hands and always placed it near her workspace, as if it gave her strength. Eli Tanner still couldn't believe what he was seeing. The girl worked faster than any mechanic he'd ever hired. Her fingers moved like they already knew where each wire should go. Machines that had been broken for years suddenly came to life under her touch. The miners started noticing too. "Old Tanner's got himself a miracle worker," one said. "His junkyard is singing again." But no one knew it was a child behind those repairs. Eli kept her hidden from customers, letting her work in the back room while he handled the front. He told her to stay quiet when strangers came by. And she always did, obedient, silent, focused. Still, every time she smiled, Eli saw sadness behind it. One evening, after she fixed an old fuel compressor that had been dead for months, Eli asked softly, "Lyra, how's your mom doing?" The girl's hands paused. She looked down at the glowing vial. "She's still weak. The air hurts her lungs now. The machines that clean the air at home are breaking. I try to fix them, but they need new cores." Eli frowned. "You're still living out there alone with her?" Lyra nodded slowly. "We used to live near the spaceport, but when she lost her job, they made us leave. Now we stay in the ruins." Something in Eli's chest twisted. He remembered the ruins, abandoned shelters outside town, cold and empty, crawling with sand dust and broken tech. No one should live there, especially not a sick mother and a child. The next morning, Lyra came to work later than usual. Her face looked pale, her movements slower. When Eli asked what happened, she whispered, "Mom's worse today. She couldn't breathe when I left." Eli tried to hide his worry. "You should stay with her." Lyra shook her head firmly. "If I don't work, I can't buy medicine." All day she worked without rest, repairing every broken part in silence. But when she thought Eli wasn't looking, she wiped tears from her cheeks. That night after she left, Eli couldn't sleep. He sat by the window watching the storm clouds roll across the desert. Something in his heart told him to follow her, so he did. He grabbed his jacket, locked the shop, and followed the faint glow of her vial through the dark streets. The wind howled, blowing sand into his face, but he kept walking. Finally, at the edge of the colony, he saw the old ruins, twisted metal walls and collapsed towers. He heard a soft humming sound, almost like a broken lullaby. There in a corner, Lyra knelt beside a weak alien woman lying on a bed made of cloth and wires. The woman's skin shimmered faintly like hers, but her breathing was shallow. Machines around her clicked and hissed, trying to keep her alive. "Mom, please," Lyra whispered, her small hands on a broken life support unit. "Stay with me. Just a little longer." Eli stepped forward slowly. "Lyra!" The girl turned, shocked. "Mr. Tanner? You shouldn't be here." He looked around at the broken machines, the thin blankets, the empty food cans. "You live here?" "In this place." Lyra looked away. "It's all we have." Eli knelt beside the sick woman, checking the machine's wires. "She's dying, Lyra. This old system can't hold her for long." "I know," the girl whispered. "But no one will help us. They say we're not allowed in hospitals, so I fix what I can." Eli felt anger rise in his chest. Anger at the rules. Anger at the world. "You shouldn't have to do this alone." Lyra looked at him, tears shining in her silver eyes. "If I don't, she'll die." He stood there for a long moment, thinking. The desert wind howled louder and lightning flashed in the distance. Finally, Eli said, "Then we fix it together." The girl gasped. "You'll help?" Eli nodded firmly. "I've got spare parts in the shop. Stronger cores. If we can power the unit again, she'll last longer. But we need to work fast." For the first time, a true smile crossed Lyra's face. "Thank you, Mr. Tanner." Eli looked at the dying woman again and whispered, "Hang on, ma'am. Your daughter's tougher than any engineer I've ever met." That night, as thunder cracked above the ruins, the human and the little alien girl worked side by side, patching broken metal, rewiring hope. And for the first time in years, Eli Tanner felt something stronger than fear or exhaustion. He felt purpose. He didn't know it yet, but helping this one child would soon make him an enemy of the very world he lived in. Morning sunlight crept through the cracked windows of Eli Tanner's workshop, painting long lines of gold across the dusty floor. The machines hummed quietly, alive again after years of silence. Lyra was already there, standing on a stool and tightening a bolt twice her size. Her silver eyes glowed faintly as she worked. Eli watched her from behind his coffee mug. It still amazed him. How fast she learned, how calm she stayed even when tools sparked and wires snapped. Every day she fixed something new. Engines, drones, generators, she could touch anything broken and make it breathe again. But the world outside didn't see it that way. In Orion's Colony 7, aliens like Lyra weren't allowed to work. The law said they were a risk. The war years ago had poisoned hearts and turned kindness into suspicion. Eli knew the inspectors came without warning. If they found her here, both of them would be punished. So he told her every morning, "If anyone comes, hide in the storage room. Don't make a sound." Lyra always nodded quietly. She trusted him. That day business was busy. People came with broken mining gear, damaged drones, and overloaded power coils. Eli handled the front, pretending to work alone. Behind the curtain, Lyra fixed everything faster than he could carry it out. By afternoon, the shop was full of noise and laughter again. Some customers even said, "Tanner, you're doing miracles these days." He only smiled. If they only knew the truth. When the last customer left, Eli locked the door and turned to the back. Lyra sat on the floor eating a piece of bread and humming softly. She was fixing a small radio, though no one had asked her to. "What's that for?" Eli asked. Lyra looked up, her cheeks puffed with bread. "For Mom. She likes to hear music when she can't talk." He smiled. "That's sweet of you." But then her face changed. She looked down and whispered, "The machines at home are breaking again. The air one stopped last night. I couldn't fix it. I need stronger parts, something human-made." Eli thought for a moment. "You can take what you need. I've got spares." Lyra's eyes brightened. "Really?" "Really," he said. "We'll help your mom together." But later that evening, when Eli went to lock up, he noticed something strange. One of the machines she had fixed earlier, an old power stabilizer, was still humming softly even after he unplugged it. He frowned and opened the panel. Inside, the wires glowed faintly blue like veins under skin. "Lyra," he called. "What kind of energy did you use here?" The girl froze. "Just what was left in the shop." "This isn't normal energy," Eli said, staring at the glow. "It's alive." She hesitated, clutching the glowing vial she always carried. "It's from me," she whispered finally. Eli's heart stopped. "From you?" She nodded slowly. "My kind, Valerians, and we can give machines life force. It's why humans fear us. They say our energy is dangerous, but it only hurts when used for war." She looked down at her small hands. "I just use it to heal." Eli sat back stunned. No wonder the machines worked like magic. No wonder they seemed to listen to her. But this also meant she was in danger. If anyone found out, the colony guards would come for her. He walked over and knelt beside her. "Lyra, you can't let anyone see you do that." "Not ever." Her eyes filled with tears. "But it helps people." "I know," he said gently. "But they won't understand. Promise me, you'll only use it when no one's around." She hesitated, then nodded. "I promise." That night, Eli stayed late, repairing what she couldn't. He glanced at the glowing machines, each one humming softly in the dark. A faint blue light filled the room, wrapping around the walls like a quiet heartbeat. But far above the colony, in a military tower, a sensor flickered on a monitoring screen. A soldier frowned. "Captain, we've detected a Valerian energy pulse in Sector 9. The officer's voice turned cold. "Send a scout. Find the source." Back in the workshop, Eli had no idea what was coming. He just looked at the little alien girl asleep under his coat, her tiny hand holding that glowing vial close to her chest. He whispered, "You fixed more than machines, kid. You fixed me too." Outside, the wind howled through the streets, carrying whispers of a storm that was no longer far away. And hidden in that small workshop, a secret was glowing brighter than either of them knew. The next few days brought uneasy peace to the old mechanic's workshop. Lyra kept working quietly, her small hands steady, her face calm. But something in her eyes had changed. She was more alert now, always glancing toward the window, listening for footsteps. Eli noticed. He pretended not to ask, but he could feel it too. The strange pressure in the air, like the calm before a storm. That morning, as Lyra repaired a drone engine, the doorbell rang. Eli looked up and his heart sank. Standing in the doorway was a tall man in a gray uniform, a colony inspector. "Good morning," the man said, flashing an ID card. "Routine scan. We've detected some unusual energy readings in this sector." Eli's hand tightened around his wrench. "Energy readings?" Must be my old generator. It acts up sometimes. The officer nodded slowly, eyes wandering across the room. Mind if we take a look? Eli forced a smile. Go ahead. Just don't touch the cables. She's temperamental. As the inspector walked around, scanning machines with a blinking handheld device, Eli glanced toward the curtain behind him. He could see Lyra's small shadow hidden under the counter. She was holding her breath. The glowing vial in her hands dimmed to almost nothing. Strange, the officer said, checking his scanner. Energy spikes disappeared as soon as I stepped in. Almost like someone turned them off. Eli shrugged. Told you, the generator's moody. Happens all the time. The officer gave a long look, then smiled politely. If you notice anything, a natural reported. There's a bounty for illegal tech, especially Valerian energy sources. Eli's jaw tightened. Right, I'll keep that in mind. When the officer left, Eli locked the door and turned to the back. You can come out now. Lyra crawled out slowly, her hands trembling. They know, she whispered. They're tracking us. Eli crouched down. How? You've been careful. They sense my mother's life machine, she said, tears forming. It's dying. When it weakens, it leaks energy. They can follow it, Eli stood up. Then we have to move her. Tonight. That evening, as the twin moons rose above the red dunes, Eli loaded his truck with parts, blankets, and tools. Lyra sat beside him, clutching her glowing vial close to her chest. They drove through silent streets, headlights cutting through dust and darkness. The ruins came into view. Jagged metal towers, fallen cables, the broken home where Lyra's mother lay. Inside, the air was colder than before. The alien woman's chest rose weakly. The life support machine beside her flickered dimly, its power fading. Mom, Lyra cried, rushing forward. Eli knelt by the machine, checking the circuits. It's losing power fast. We need to rebuild the core, right now. Lyra shook her head. We can't, the wires are too old. I tried everything. Eli looked at her, eyes fierce. Then we'll make something new. He opened his tool bag and began working. Sparks filled the air as metal clanked and engines hummed. Lyra joined him, her small hands moving with practiced rhythm. Together they worked in silence, only the hum of the machine breaking the stillness. Hours passed. The woman's breathing slowed. The lights began to fade. Eli's heart pounded. Come on, come on. He hit the side of the panel. Stay with us. Then faintly the light returned. The hum deepened. The machine came back to life, stronger than before. Lyra's mother exhaled weakly, but her lips curved into a soft smile. Lyra burst into tears, hugging her mother's hand. She's okay. Mr. Tanner, you did it. Eli smiled tiredly. No, kid. We did it, but their relief didn't last long. Outside engines roared. The sound of approaching vehicles echoed through the night. Lyra's smile faded. They're here. Eli grabbed his tools, scanning the shadows. How did they find us so fast? The new energy core, Lyra said, terrified. It's too strong. They traced it. The lights of military drones flashed through the cracks in the wall. Voices shouted in the distance. Eli turned to her and said firmly, Take your mother and hide in the truck. I'll slow them down. Lyra shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. No, they'll take you too. Eli crouched beside her, his hand on her shoulder. Listen to me, Lyra. You're not just fixing machines anymore. You're saving lives. Don't let them stop you. She hesitated, gripping his hand tightly, then nodded. I'll come back for you. I promise. Eli smiled faintly. You'd better. As she ran out into the darkness, the old mechanic turned toward the approaching lights. His heart was steady. His choice was clear. For the first time in years, he wasn't afraid, because he knew some things were worth fighting for. And a little alien girl with silver eyes was one of them. The night was cold and the wind howled through the ruins like a wounded animal. Inside the broken shelter, the air smelled of metal and fear. Eli Tanner's hands were black with oil, his breath short, his eyes locked on the glowing heart of the alien machine. Hold the wire steady. Lyra, he said, voice rough. The little alien girl nodded, her fingers trembling but sure. The machine keeping her mother alive was failing fast. Every few seconds it gave a weak pulse, then faded again. Please, Mr. Tanner, Lyra whispered. If the light goes out, she won't wake up again. Eli's jaw clenched. Then we don't let it go out. He reached into his old tool bag, searching for something, anything that could work. But every battery, every converter was too weak. The colony's junk couldn't save a dying alien life. Then his eyes fell on something in the corner. An old military cell, the size of his hand, half buried under cloth. It was a banned human power source. Unstable but powerful enough to run a city block for a day. Dangerous, yes, but it was their only chance. He lifted it slowly, brushing off the dust. This thing could blow up the whole room, he muttered. Lyra looked up at him with wide silver eyes. But it could save her too, right? Eli sighed deeply. Yeah, it could. He stared at the machine, then at the little girl kneeling beside her mother. She looked so small, yet she never cried for herself, only for the woman lying still in front of her. Eli made his choice. Step back, kid. If this goes wrong, you run. I won't leave her, Lyra said softly. He smiled tiredly. You've got your mother's courage. He opened the old life support casing, hands moving fast. He attached the band cell, twisting wires together with bits of scrap metal. Sparks flew, smoke filled the air. The machine screeched, lights flickered, and for a terrifying second, everything went dark. Mr. Tanner. Lyra cried out. Then with a sudden roar, blue light exploded through the cables. The walls glowed as energy flooded the system. The machine came alive, humming steady and strong. Eli fell back, coughing, his clothes scorched. It's holding. It's actually holding. Lyra rushed to her mother. The woman's chest rose again, faint but real. Her breathing steadied. She's alive, Lyra whispered in disbelief. You did it, Eli smiled weakly. We did it, but the celebration didn't last. Outside, a sharp alarm echoed through the desert, a sound Eli had hoped never to hear again. The military scanners. He turned pale. The illegal cell had sent out a massive power signature, one the authorities would easily track. They're coming, he said quietly. Lyra's eyes widened. Then we run. We can take her, Eli shook his head. She can't move yet. The machine needs to stay powered. If we move her now, she'll die. Tears welled up in Lyra's eyes. There must be another way. Eli stood up and walked to the window. Far in the distance, he could see the lights of approaching drones growing brighter every second. He turned back to her and knelt down. Lyra, listen to me. You're going to take this bag. He handed her a small pack filled with food, parts, and the glowing vial she always carried. Go north to the mountains. There are old tunnels there. You can hide. What about you? She whispered. I'll stay, he said simply. I'll keep the machine running. If they find it active, they'll think the energy came from me. Lyra shook her head violently. No, they'll take you away. He smiled softly. Maybe, but at least they won't take you. For a moment, silence filled the room. The machine hummed, the wind howled, and the stars above burned quietly. Then Lyra stepped forward and hugged him tightly, her tiny arms shaking. I'll come back for you, she said. I promise. Eli patted her head gently. Just live, kid. That'll be enough. She pulled away, tears glimmering like silver drops. Then she turned and ran into the night, her glowing vial lighting the path ahead. Eli watched her go until the darkness swallowed her small figure. Then he turned back to the dying woman who now breathed peacefully. He whispered softly, I made her a promise, and I keep my promises. Outside, the sound of engines grew louder. The colony soldiers were coming. But Eli Tanner didn't run. He sat beside the humming machine, staring at the light it gave. Because to him that light was more than power. It was hope. And a promise made to a child was something a human like him would never break. The night exploded with sirens and red lights. Search drones cut through the darkness like hunting hawks, their metal wings slicing the air above the ruins. Eli Tanner sat inside the old shelter, beside the weak hum of the alien life machine, his eyes tired but calm. He could hear the soldiers' voices in the distance, cold, sharp, confident. They were coming closer. He looked at the sick Valerian woman resting beside him. Her face was pale, glowing softly in the dim blue light. Your daughter's safe, he whispered. She's smart, and she's brave, just like you. The woman's eyes fluttered open for a moment. Her voice was weak but gentle. You helped her, Eli nodded. She helped me first. Before he could say more, the door burst open. Armed soldiers stormed in, armor glinting in the blue light. A tall officer stepped forward, his visor reflecting Eli's face. Eli Tanner, the officer said coldly. You're under arrest for harboring illegal alien technology and violating energy laws. Eli raised his hands slowly. She's dying. I'm just trying to keep her alive. That thing, the officer snapped, pointing at the glowing life machine, is a Class 1 threat. It's emitting forbidden Valerian energy. Step away from it! Eli's jaw tightened. You can't take it. Without this, she'll die. The officer's face was expressionless. That's not my problem. Two soldiers stepped forward, grabbing Eli by the arms. He didn't resist. His eyes never left the machine. If you destroy it, he said, voice breaking, you'll kill her. The officer hesitated for a second. Orders are orders. Suddenly the air shimmered. The blue glow from the machine pulsed brighter. The sick alien woman opened her eyes wide, too wide. A faint hum grew into a deep vibration that shook the ground. The soldiers froze. What's happening? One shouted. The woman's voice echoed, weak but powerful. You hurt, my child. Light exploded from her chest, spreading through the walls like fire through glass. The machines around them came alive, old metal bending and fusing into new shapes. Drones outside fell from the sky, their engines shutting off mid-air. The officer screamed, "Shut it down!" But there was nothing to shut down. The energy wasn't coming from a machine anymore, it was coming from her. The storm outside grew wild. The colony's entire power grid flickered. Street lights across the desert blinked on for the first time in months. Generators roared to life. Every broken system suddenly healed, every engine restarted. Eli stared in awe. She's fixing everything. The officer shielded his eyes. She's destabilizing the entire sector. Eli shook his head. No, she's saving it. And just as quickly as it began, the light faded. The alien woman collapsed, her glow dimming until it was gone. The machines went still again, quiet, peaceful. Outside, the soldiers' radios buzzed. Command to field unit, report. The colony grid has been restored. What happened? The officer looked around, speechless. Every scanner showed stable readings. The threat had just powered an entire colony back to life. Eli knelt beside the alien woman. She was still breathing, barely. Her eyes opened just enough to see him. Promise. Protect her. He squeezed her hand gently. I already did. She smiled weakly, then went still, her hand slipping from his. The soldiers stood in silence. No one spoke for a long time. The officer finally said quietly, She's gone. Eli looked up at him. She gave your world power again. Don't you dare call that illegal. The officer hesitated, then lowered his weapon. Take him in, he said softly, but his voice had lost its anger. And to leave the body. We'll report it as an energy malfunction. Eli didn't fight. As they led him away, he looked back one last time at the glowing machine. The light inside it pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. Somewhere far away, beyond the hills and the desert wind, a small girl was hiding under the night sky, holding her mother's glowing vial. She looked back toward the colony lights, now shining brighter than ever. The storm had passed. But the world had changed forever. And as the first dawn rose over Orion's Colony 7, both human and alien hearts beat quietly beneath the same light. A promise kept by a simple man who refused to stop fixing what others had already given up on. A week had passed since the night of the storm. The skies above Orion's Colony 7 were no longer red with dust. They were clear for the first time in years. The colony lights glowed brighter than they ever had, powered by an unknown source. People whispered about it in the markets, in the stations, in every home. They say the whole power grid healed itself, one miner said. Some kind of miracle, another replied. Machines just started working again. But Eli Tanner wasn't there to hear it. He was sitting in a cold room inside the colony station, wrists cuffed, facing a group of officers who didn't know what to do with him. Across the table, a woman in a blue command uniform stared at the reports. You admit, she said slowly, that you used an illegal power cell to save a Valerian woman's life? Eli nodded calmly. Yes. And that this woman, her energy wave restored power to every system in the colony. He nodded again. Yes, she wasn't trying to destroy anything. She was trying to live. The woman closed the file, looking at him closely. Do you know where her child is? Eli met her gaze but said nothing. After a long silence, the woman sighed. You should be punished, Mr. Tanner. The law is clear. She paused, then added quietly, but the entire colony owes its life to what you did. The council has decided to release you. Eli blinked in surprise. Release me? Yes, she said, standing up. On one condition. You will help us rebuild the new power system. using what that alien woman taught us. You're the only one who saw how her energy worked. Eli nodded slowly. I'll do it. He walked out into the sunlight free again. But his heart was heavy. The world had light, yet one small child was still out there alone. That evening, as he walked back to his old workshop, he noticed something strange. The door was open. The faint hum of tools filled the air. His steps quickened. Inside, a small figure stood on the stool holding a wrench and humming a quiet tune. Lyra, he whispered. The little alien girl turned around. Her silver eyes glowed softly in the warm light. You came back, she said, smiling. Eli couldn't speak for a moment. Then he laughed through a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. You shouldn't be here, kid. They're still looking for you. I know, she said softly. But I wanted to see you, and I wanted to finish Mom's work. She pointed at the big power engine in the corner. It was glowing faintly, alive and steady. Eli stared at it. You fixed that? Lyra nodded. She showed me how, like in my dreams. She said machines listen better when hearts are kind. Eli smiled. Sounds like something she'd say. They worked together late into the night, side by side again, the sound of metal and hope filling the room. For the first time, there was laughter in the workshop instead of silence. When morning came, a hovercar stopped outside. The same officer woman from the council stepped out. She looked at the glowing machines through the open door. So, she said softly, this is the child. Lyra hid behind Eli. I didn't mean to cause trouble, she whispered. The officer knelt down, eyes kind. You caused no trouble, little one. You gave us light, Lyra blinked. Then you're not here to take me away? The woman shook her head. No, the council has made a decision. We want you both, the mechanic and the girl, to lead the new energy division. The future of this colony belongs to humans and Valerians together. Eli looked down at Lyra, who was now smiling shyly. See, kid? He said softly. You came for a job interview once, and now they're giving you the whole department. Lyra giggled. Does that mean I'm hired? Eli grinned. Yeah, Lyra, you're hired. The officer smiled, watching the two of them stand among the humming machines, surrounded by the glow of reborn energy. Outside, the colony lights shone stronger than ever, spreading across the desert like a sunrise that refused to end. Lyra placed her small glowing vial on the table, the last piece of her mother's energy, and whispered, She said light never dies. It just finds a new home. Eli nodded, his eyes wet. And it found one right here. As the engines purred and the morning light filled the room, the story of a dying alien world and a tired human mechanic came full circle, beginning once with a child's quiet voice at a workshop door. Mom's sick, so I came instead. Now that same child stood tall, no longer asking for help, but giving it, proving that sometimes the smallest light can change the largest world.